Hey, good morning, or wherever you are in the world. I am Dr. Melissa Mann. I am so happy to be here with you. And we are doing a Asking for Greater challenge over the next 3 days. And I want to preface by letting you know that I am sick. I sound like shit, and we're doing it anyways because why not? And so I apologize if I sound a little, I don't know, hoarse or sexy, however you want to see it. Nothing sexier than having a cold. But hey, John, how are you? Oh my goodness. And how does it get any better than this? And yeah, if at any point I don't know, sounding ridiculous, I apologize in advance, and yet I don't care. The end says, yeah, sexy baby. Yeah. It's cool. What up? And, something I've really looked a lot at lately is, in asking for greater, in asking for new and different and fun energies, is sort of like this getting over myself thing. Like, not giving a shit. Hey, Tia. Of like, God, do it bad, do it wrong, do it anyways. And like being willing to show up, even if your voice sounds like shit, even if you fuck it up, even if like my kids are running in from the other room and being like, Mommy, I need you right now, and just being that. Hey, Tracy. And hey, Vicky. It's so good to see everybody coming on. And just, being willing to fuck it up, being willing to have so much fun in business, and being willing to be everything that you are, warts and all, as we say, and doing it anyways and having fun with it and not having to get it right and not having to be perfect. So that's one of my asks, as we're sort of talking about this asking for greater thing. And I mean, how appropriate that I'm like, all right, well, I can't really talk, but we're going to do this anyways. So how freaking amazing. Hey, Krez. Oh, it's so great to see everybody coming on live. Yeah, I am off this week. I guess a lot of people are off this week. Hey, Megan. And what a great time, like between Christmas and New Year's, to actually be asking for something greater. To be looking at like, what is it that we can ask for that has never even been available to ask for before? And what can we be that is so different, hey, Ina, that like there's possibilities becoming available that have never been available before on the planet. I'm so aware of this. And so this asking for greater challenge is kind of twofold. It's really about like all of the things that you can be asking for that you don't even realize you can be asking for. And this applies for your life and for the planet and for the universe and sort of for the whole world. So what if your asks aren't just for you? What if your asks for your life actually creates greater on the planet, creates greater for everybody else, and is an invitation to a greater future? So what can we actually ask for now that would be the catalyst of change? And so if this is, first of all, if you've never done any Access Consciousness before, you fell upon my Money Party page some other way, or you knew me and you're like, yeah, she's doing this thing, I don't know what this Access Consciousness stuff is that she does. Just kind of little preface is we ask a lot of questions in Access Consciousness, and when we ask questions, we're not looking for answers. We're looking for awareness, and we're willing to receive and perceive awareness when we ask a question. So I've had a lot of people be like, you're asking these questions and I'm trying to get the answers. You don't have to come up with the answers. That's not required. It's really about asking questions, hence our asking for greater. And I use this crazy statement called the clearing statement, which goes right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you want more information on what that is and how that works, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. But I'm just aware that I will say that a whole bunch and people will be like, what is that crazy thing you're saying? So if you want a whole explanation, Dr. Dane here does a really good job explaining it in theclearingstatement.com. And basically what it is it's like we ask a question, we pull the energy of something up, and then we use that clearing statement to kind of blast all that energy out. And it's what actually moves things, and it's what actually changes things and creates what it is that we're asking for. So what I want to look at today, and we'll go through 3 days of this, but what I really want to look at today is like, what are your asks? And what are your asks for your life? What are your asks for this coming year in 2022? And what are your asks for your future? And then what are your asks for everything beyond that? So you can break this up if you want, but please get that it's not required. You don't actually have to do this. Like, here's my asks, and here's like my asks for this year, and here's my asks for next year, or my asks for 5 years from now, and here's my asks for 500 years from now, and here's like my asks for the planet. Like, you don't have to form and structure this. You don't have to over categorize it. And you can if you like that. It's not wrong. But what I want to look at here is like, where have you not been willing to ask for something because you've already decided that you can't have it, or you've already decided that it's not possible? So have you looked at like, so when we think about asks, it's really like anything you're asking for. So it might be like you're asking for a new car. It might be that you're asking for a new house. It might be that you're asking for new relationships in your life. It might be that you're asking to sort of have relationships that aren't working for you start to fall away. It might be asking for beautiful clothing or beautiful jewelry or a vacation. So those are sort of like our, I don't know, basic asks, like the things we sort of are like asking for in material items or in like right now stuff. A lot of the things I ask for are being the money to show up to take a class I want to take, or the money to show up to, buy this big purchase. So all of those things, and look at those, and then be willing to look at energies. So sometimes we know exactly what something is going to look like or what we'd like it to look like, and a lot of times we don't. So what energies can you actually ask for that you haven't even like been willing to look at before? So you might see something in the world and you might be like, oh, like the way that that couple looks happy and the way they look at each other, and like you get the energy of like what that interaction is. You can ask for that. You can maybe see a little kid just joyful as hell and like has no point of view about anything, and there's just like having the time of your life, and you can be like, oh, that energy. And Emily Russell talks about energy shopping, and it's like that. It's like you see an energy and you're like, I'll have that, and I'll have that. And so as you look through the world, you might see more kindness in the world, Leanne says, that you may see even this like moment of kindness, or this, like you get this glimmer of an energy, and you can ask for that too. So when you start to look at like what energies you would like to have in your life, it might be something you saw or something you caught a glimpse of, or it might be something you're just aware of is possible that you never thought about before. So something like more kindness in the world, such a beautiful example of like, God, what would it take for everybody to take one extra second to be kind to one another, to smile, to open a door for somebody, to have like a genuine caring for each other, like that energy that pulls something up. And so when you start to really ask for greater, this can mean 100 things. And I kind of did that on purpose so that nothing is right and nothing is wrong. But it's just, what can we ask for now that we haven't been asking for before? So is it wonderment? Is it joy? Is it the excitement of being somewhere new for the first time? All of those things have an energy to them. And so being willing to ask for that. And then like so something Christopher Hughes said, if you guys watch the Misfit Merriment at all, Sarah Grananetti and Paula Peralta did I guess it was 12 days of like Misfit Merriment, where they had different people on and they were interviewing them. I'm pretty sure you can still get it. It was awesome. But Christopher Hughes came on and he said one of the things that he was asking for Christmas from his mother-in-law was for her to go to the store and like see somebody buying Christmas gifts for their family, and to give them $500 to like pay for the Christmas gifts for all the kids for their family. And that like blew up her world because she wanted to buy him an actual gift. And but he was like asking for the energy of that, because he's like, I don't need stuff. I have money. What I'd really like is to create the energy of kindness in the world and to give somebody hope that there are kind people on the planet and that things can show up and can be eased and to change somebody's reality. And so is that also something that you can ask for when you're asking for greater, when you're asking for a greater world? What can you be to ask for something totally different? One of my favorite things to do is to leave a really large tip for somebody because it blows their world up. I was a server for many years, and I know it, and it sucks in the holidays because theoretically people are gifting more, but a lot of times people are doing the opposite thing. Nina says, I'll have that, please. And Hannah says, I bought myself a new laptop and I'm paying for it with ease. I already have a computer, I don't need it, but I know I have to click on this. But I know that my new laptop would create money for me, and therefore it's so light and joyous to have it and play with it. Yay! How does it get any better than that? I love that. How cool. So like what... Oh, I was talking about serving. Sorry, squirrel. I do this. And so like one of my favorite things to do is to leave a large tip because a lot of times people are cheap during the holidays and people are kind of cheap in general. And interesting point of view. And so it creates something in a server's world when you're like, hey, you did great. You're an awesome server, amazing. You did your job well, whatever, and you leave like a really large tip. And I know what that's like on the other end of it, that it like expands their whole world into something different, and knowing that something more is possible and knowing that anything is truly possible. And so these are all different energies to play and to ask for. But what can you be that would create all of the things that you're asking for? And as we look at asks, a lot of times people go into like the what do I have to do? And I want to be really clear that you don't have to do anything. It's a lot more about what you are willing to be, perceive, know, be, and receive. And if you're actually willing to be congruent with the things they are asking for, then they can actually show up with total ease. But what happens is what most of us do is we go into trying to figure it out, doing the how, and what do I have to do, and let me make my to-do list of all the ways I have to do the thing so that I can have what I'm asking for. Sometimes there is an action required. It's not as though you never have to do anything, but action is very different. It isn't spinning your wheels and trying to create money, or like being frazzled and like, I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this. But instead, like really being present with the energy of what you're asking for and asking the question, is there an action required here? And sometimes it might be, oh yeah, do a Facebook post, or oh yeah, call a friend, or go for a walk. A lot of times the action required for me in creating more money or more space or more whatever it is that I'm asking for is not linear. It's way more of like, what can I do to have more of me here? Because that's actually what's creating greater. And so it'll be to go for a walk, or it'll be to call a friend, or go out to lunch, or do something that doesn't make any logical sense for what I'm asking for, but it's giving me more of me. And when you're willing to have more of you, that's when your asks actually can show up. So play with that. Play with what would you really like to have as your life? And what would you really like to have in the world? And make a list. So your challenge for this week, or for today, but this week and into the future actually, is to make a list. Make a list of all the things that you'd really like to have. And if this helps, it helps me. And you probably have heard Dr. Dane here say this, is if you had $100 million coming into you every month for the rest of your life, so money just wasn't the issue. If you could have absolutely anything and you weren't going into like the figuring it out, what would you really like to have? And so maybe that's, you'd like to have vacation homes all over the world, or maybe that's just me, or maybe you'd like to have, this amazing car or this amazing jewelry, and kind of get through all of that, because often we kind of have to go through that first. If it's like, okay, I have all the money in the world, like here's all the things I want to buy. Okay. And then we can move beyond it. So make that. Don't try to skip that step. A lot of people like want to do this like righteous thing of like, oh, I just want peace on earth. That's great. But like, for real, like what are all the things you want to do? Get through that. And then, okay, you've got everything you want. Kind of like Chris Hughes was saying, like to his mother-in-law, like, I don't really need stuff. So like now this is what I'm asking for. So once you kind of get through the stuff and the things you would purchase, then cool. What else are you asking for? What energies are you asking for? And what change would you really like to create on the planet? I was listening to Dr. David Kubais. Maybe that was also in the Misfit Merriment. I don't actually know what I was listening to. And he was talking about like the way we change like techie reality, the way we change the people that are killing the planet, the way that like is to have so much money to actually buy up those companies that are killing the planet and to either change them around entirely or take them under. But to be willing to have so much money to, instead of going into resistance, reaction, and fighting, to have the money to just buy up all the things that are killing the planet and change it. So, like, where are the things that we can ask for that if money wasn't the issue, that you would actually like to see change on the planet? And put all of that on your list. Write them down. If you can, this is a true challenge. See if you can come up with 100 things. And it can be everything from the new car you want to the ring you've been eyeing. Maybe that's just me. And to the bigger things and the clothing and the beautiful things for your body. What does your body desire? Does it desire weekly massages? Does it desire to spa membership? Does it, like, what does your body desire? And what can you ask for there? And then like look at the energies beyond it. And like, what would you really like to see on the planet if money wasn't the issue? You have to take money out of it, because as soon as money comes into it, we go all contracted and crunchy and like try to like be like, well, I don't have the money to do that. And we shut down the energy of it. But if we're willing to take money out of the equation altogether, we can actually see what we're really asking for and then ask that those things start to show up. And then money, the energy of money can actually like show up and be there because you have an ask. And the money will be there to support your ask, but it has to go in that direction. And this is something I spent a long time trying to figure out, is that I'd be like, well, I can't do this because I don't have the money. And I want this thing, but I can't have that because I don't have the money. But what the universe heard was I don't have the money. And so what showed up was not having the money. But when I had a true ask for something and I was asking a question of what would it take for the money for this to show up, then the money showed up. Because it would be like, hey, what would it be like to have the money for this vacation? Or what would it be like to have the money to take this access class? And then the money just kind of like swooped, is that the word I'm looking for? Swooped in, with total ease, because it wasn't going from the space of lack. It was a true ask. And when you're congruent with your ask, the money to support that ask can show up. I was talking about this on the other day on a live that, Gary Douglas had this ask for a castle in Italy, which to most of us seems absurd. And he didn't have the money. He didn't know where the money was going to come from, and he wasn't going into the how exactly. It was, hey, I'd really like to have a castle in Italy. What would that take? What would it be like to have a castle in Italy? And all the parts and pieces kind of showed up. People called him and was like, hey, we have this castle. Do you want to come see it? And like none of it made any logical sense, but he had a true ask. And then everything else sort of like contributed so that now he has indeed a castle in Italy. So, but if he went into like, well, I don't have the money to have a castle in Italy, so let me save the money first so I can have that, it wouldn't exist. But because he had an ask, then everything else showed up to make that possible. So that is your challenge for today. We'll have different ones the next 2 days, but today, try to write down 100 asks. And if you get to 75, whatever, cool, don't judge yourself. But see how many you can actually get to. When I do my asks regularly, I often record them, do voice record, because it's easier for me. And if that works for you, cool. But something about this particular challenge is requiring, at least for me, to write it down. Because I really want to see, like, laid out all the things that we really can ask for. And once you get through, like, 30, 40, you kind of get stuck. And you're like, like, what else? And that's when you start to really pull for, like, what else can I ask for that I've never been willing to ask for before? And if I was willing to ask for it, what would it take to actually have that become a reality? So I grabbed a clearing from somewhere. I think it was actually from the COP manual. So let's end with that. So what energy, space, consciousness, and choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, and possibilities can my body and I be to create a world of peace, calm, kindness, and gratitude that is and as the dominant species on planet Earth with total ease? Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, can we destroy it and create it? Yeah, wow. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And the energy that that creates. And that's just one ask. So what can we all ask for together to have a greater planet, to have a greater future, and to be the catalyst of change? So I'm going to leave you guys with that today. Thank you so much for putting up with my hoarse voice. And we'll come back tomorrow. What I love, I'm going to do a post in the group, like a space for you to write, like to post. If it's a contribution to you, write in your asks. You don't have to put in 100, but if you happen to type them and you want to copy and paste them, by all means. And if you have 10 or your top 10 that you want to post something just for fun, because sometimes we see something that somebody else is asking for and we're like, oh, that too. And then we can add that to our list. And that's so much fun too. And the other thing is, if you look at other people's stuff, and sometimes in challenges I've done this, where I'm like, oh, like I'm wrong because I didn't even think to ask for that. Like, don't do that. Don't go into judgment of yourself. You know, pot and pock, all of that stuff. We can all be asking for the same things. And what would that create? And we can all ask for totally different things. And what would that create? So what if we were actually willing to ask for things? We can grow with our asks and see what is truly possible beyond this reality. Cool. So I'm going to do a post. You guys can post your asks in there if you want to contribute. And I will be back tomorrow at the same time. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks. Bye, you guys.